Yo, what is poppin', my 420 army? It is your boy, the Mighty Liam 420, and yep, here's the surprise review for Earth Day. If you're watching this, it's being made public on Earth Day. And I kind of was doing this in a bit of a rush because it didn't pop into my head to do this until like a few days ago. It's like, you know what, maybe I'll try to squeeze in a quick round of Guess the Film, which, yes, this is the second time I've done this. First time was Brave, that I posted back in February to coincide with the 2-year release of Cocaine Bear, which is still one of my favorite movies, but this time, yes, second, we're doing another Pixar film in this. This time is WALL-E. To coincide with Earth Day, I thought this film would be appropriate to review because it gives a really good environmental message on how the Earth could come to an end if we don't take care of it very well. Because basically this film takes place in the 29th century and shows like the Earth is completely covered in garbage and all humans have moved to space. So, anyways, yeah, and even like has a little love story along the way too. But okay, basically like the opening scene of the film is like we actually see space and Earth, and then there's like a song playing. I forget the name of the song, but I'm not gonna sing it or play it because of copyright reasons. But it's always, why is with the old Pixar films and having these like kick-ass openings? Like this film has one, Monsters Inc. has a kick-ass opening, and then Incredibles, Ratatouille, and Up have like opened with like news reports. I've seen interesting. The only 2000s Pixar film that did not have a kick-ass opening to it was Finding Nemo. Yeah, because it just has the freaking Barracuda attack. But even the original Cars had a kick-ass opening with the Sheryl Crow intro. And basically, after we see like the Earth covered in trash, and then we actually see WALL-E, who's voiced by Ben Brett. WALL-E stands for Waste Accolation Load Lifter Earth Class, and basically we just kind of see him going throughout what he does on a daily basis. He like cleans up the garbage so that like the humans can return to Earth one day, and then even his pet cockroach Hal is there, and he even pulls like a frisbee from one of the cubes he collected before he and Hal start making their way home. And here's like it really shows all tons of stuff. Like we also see the title card as WALL-E's heading down like a tower. It's like, wow, this is actually really great, even though the Earth's all gray, because it's like this is gonna happen to the Earth someday if we don't take care of it. It's gonna turn into like get covered in garbage, and we're all gonna have to be forced to move on to a goddamn space station. But anyways, like also he's the last robot of his kind too, because we see him moving and there's like every other robot was like destroyed through unknown circumstances, and he also steals the treads off some, and there's like ads showing as he's getting closer to his home, which is like a truck, and they show like robots clean up the mess while the humans are away, and then we even see the Axiom, which that's the space station that all the humans are living on, which we see it later in the film too. So anyways, like it's funny how the humans are actually walking around in the ad, but when we actually get to the Axiom later in the film, the humans are not able to walk, and they have to move in like hover chairs. That's also mentioned in this ad. But anyways, when WALL-E gets home, we literally see what his home looks like. Sometimes he collects stuff he finds valuable when he's making the cubes, and then he has like some music videos playing in the background. Not the kind you see on Beavis and Butthead though. And yep, he's pretty much the life of a robot, clean up the Earth and you live alone. And then also he sees like a sandstorm coming. Yeah, because apparently they have like sandstorms is like the equivalent of avalanches, but anyway, he calls it a night after that happens, and when he wakes up the following morning, his battery's about to die. So yeah, there's not really much dialogue in the first few films, it just focuses on WALL-E by himself. So anyways, after he recharges himself, he then goes to like his normal day of cleaning, and he accidentally runs over Hal on his way out. He's like, oh shit, I killed my cockroach. But nope, cockroaches are like really hard to kill, so nope, Hal's fine. And then we see a montage of him like finding all tons of crazy objects, like a bra, a stuffed dog, a trophy, and then he even finds the keys to a car and like a ping pong pile where it's like shave himself in the face. He even finds an engagement ring that he throws in with like a boot and like some other stuff, and even like a fire extinguisher, but he throws it away after realizing that's kind of pointless. And then he's even like building like all tons of pieces. Looks like he's trying to build like a mall. It's like funny how this movie came out like a year or so before Minecraft, because everything in Minecraft was made out of cubes. I haven't seen the Minecraft movie yet though, but I've heard it's pretty bad. Might go check it out, see if it's as bad as everyone says it is. But anyway, also WALL-E has like a little laser in between his eyes. And also, by the way, the reason how he makes the cubes is he has like a little chassis that, right here, that he puts the garbage in and ends up forming into a cube. But then he cuts a fridge door open with like a laser between his eyes, and he finds a plant before he takes that home. But right as soon as he takes the plant home, he starts chasing after like a light that just showed up on his porch. And he chases it until like, but he doesn't notice more lights coming, and then once he finally catches up to it, he gets surrounded by all the other lights, and then a rocket ship lands, and he tries to hide because he thinks he's gonna get burned up, but then as he gets off as he's examining the ship, Eve, extraterrestrial vegetation emulator, voiced by Melissa Knight. She's an egg-shaped probe robot with blue LED eyes, and she basically is like trying to scan the Earth in order to like see if there's any signs of plants, and WALL-E's kind of like just watching from a distance. And there's some failed gags of him like trying to hide so he's not spotted. And the ship also takes off too, so then we get to like a montage of Eve flying around, which WALL-E's amazed by, until she stops and WALL-E accidentally like causes a noise, and then Eve like shoots the rock he's hiding behind. And yeah, because she can actually like transform her arm into like a gun, which it's like, wow, that's kind of cool. But then we just see like more montages of WALL-E following Eve through tire stacks, which is when Hal runs up to her, and then Eve even like starts shooting some tires before confronting WALL-E. And then nope, you'd think he's still stalking Eve, surprisingly, even through like an old quick stop store, which after he gets spotted, he runs from some shopping carts and he tries to get a door open, but it doesn't open until he's buried by the carts. It's like, was he trying to exit through the enter doors and that's why those doors didn't open for him? Pixar really had a thing back in their pre-Cars 2 era. Why can't they make films like this nowadays? Well, except from Coco, so hey, that's at least one post-Cars 2 gem. Or even Soul. Actually, Soul's a good film, too. But, anyways, after Eve shuts down for the night, WALL-E builds like a little structure in front of her after falling down some stairs, and then when Eve sees it the following morning, WALL-E accidentally buries himself in some pipes. And even the Pizza Planet truck makes a cameo. Yes, the Pizza Planet truck is shown in like every Pixar film. And I think this is the only time we ever see the truck with its hood open. But then Eve has no luck finding the planet, and then she's kind of sad. So she gets stuck on a magnet. Because she's made of metal, and then she just brutally starts she just massacres some ships. And then starts a fire from them, and then as the ships kind of fall over and start causing more flames, WALL-E's about to get closer to Eve, but then Eve spots him, and they actually kind of start communicating. And they introduce themselves, and their names. It goes on for quite some time until another sandstorm comes. And WALL-E also starts calling Eve that, because I think it's like his robot voice or something that causes him to do it, but yeah. Either way, they get buried in the sandstorm, but luckily WALL-E manages to take them back to his truck. And he's showing her his collection. There's even a fish on the wall that's singing the Peace Happy song. I think it originated from Flush the Rain. I don't know where that song originated from. But then he shows her stuff like a light bulb that turns on when Eve touches it, a Rubik's Cube that she manages to solve easily within 10. She literally solves that Rubik's Cube in 10 seconds. It was fast. And some bubble wrap, but then when WALL-E shows you a cassette tape, she pulls it. He's like, ah, no, you fucked the tape! But luckily she did not fuck the tape, and the music video still plays. But then they kind of start dancing, and Eve starts like really destroying the trailer from like jumping up and down, and then they're doing some spinning, but then Eve accidentally flings Wally into a wall, and his eye is like dangling out. He's like, what the fuck, you destroyed my eye. So then he goes to his shelf system, it's on like a rotating system, and then he finds a spare eye that he puts into his eye socket. And then Eve finds a lighter. It's like really bonding with the chemistry between these two. Really great job. And then basically Eve is still watching the music video, but then when Wally tries to grab her hand, she puts her fingers away, and then Wally's like, oh, actually, I just found something yesterday that I think you might like. So then he grabs the plant after a drum falls on his head, and he claps at him, and then he shows Eve the plant, and then she scans the plant and literally puts it inside of her, and then she just completely deactivates. It's like, oh god. So Wally is like kind of sad. It's like, no, Eve's been shut down. So he's just feeling kind of lonely, like kind of sheltering her in thunderstorms. I think they still have thunderstorms on Earth, even without with all the huge piles of trash. He's feeling like shocked. He tries to remove the plant, fails, and then he's just strolling with the immobile Eve till they're saying about watching the sunset, and he like grabs Eve's arm, but then it closes on him, and then he accidentally destroys a light bulb. It's like a funny love montage. This is like if you're dating a mannequin, almost. But then Wally plays some like old school ping pong or something, or pinball, whatever it is, on a TV. But then he's like, no. The following morning, he decides, I'm just gonna go back to my garbage cleaning ways. Which he's doing that, and he also leaves Eve completely unattended on the roof of his truck while he's cleaning. But then that's when the rocket from before comes back to collect Eve, and Wally's like, oh shit, I gotta save my love. So he runs back to his home right as the ship arrives, but then he manages to grab a hold of the ship before it takes off, and he leaves Hal behind. And then once the ship gets into space, Wally starts floating, and he actually manages to find Eve in the window, which then there's also like a whole bunch of stuff on the moon, apparently, like an advertisement. And then as the ship flies past the sun, Wally decides, you know what, I'm going to recharge myself because I don't know how long I'm going to be up here for. And he also gets a view of Earth before that. And they're just kind of floating through space while he's admiring all the planets until the ship finally reaches the Axiom, and then it gets on board, and then it's like just kind of doing like a protocol of like arranging all the robots they got. And then Eve gets taken, and then that's when Mo and some other cleaning robots decide, you know what, just to give Eve a clean from when she was on Earth. And then Wally himself even gets down there, and he's like 100% dirty, so then he starts toying with Mo while Mo's trying to clean him, and then that triggers Go4, who's like a robot that works on the ship, and then two steward type robots. They're basically the equivalent of the working Joes from Alien Isolation. But then they find the plant skin Eve, which puts the hangar in like a lockdown of some sort. So I don't know what it is, if it's like a breach or a lockdown. But then they take Eve away, and Wally follows them, and then Mo sees the tracks that Wally left behind, and he starts following them. It's like, yeah, Mo is pretty much like, his job is like keep the Axiom clean, but so he's like cleaning up all the dirt stains that Wally leaves behind. But then we cut to Wally, who's watching Eve on a gurney, but then the gurney disappears with the working Jews, and Wally tries to catch up after causing a bunch of traffic jams, and he eventually comes across the humans, which, yeah, all the humans are just sitting in like hover chairs, and they're like literally using like FaceTime to communicate with people. It's like, dude, even though they're right next to each other, they're still communicating. Yeah, because the humans have been moving around the chairs from the microgravity and laziness. That's really what the Wikipedia for this movie says, because also the computer, which is Sigourney Weaver, who plays Ellen Ripley in the Alien films. So one of the people who worked in this film joked that she was going to be playing the mother now, considering like the reference to Alien. So anyway, it's like time for lunch in a cup. It's like, I think microgravity and obesity is what's causing these people to suffer from slight bone loss because you're just feeding them nothing but McDonald's and Burger King every day. It's like, that's not good. You can't just eat fast food all day. You gotta have actual stuff from a store. Like, have some grains or some carbs and some protein. You can't just have fat all the time. But then also, one of the passengers is named John. He's voiced by John Ratzenberger. Yes, this was back when Pixar would have John Ratzenberger in every single film. Those were the good days. He even supported Pixar during their dark ages. So, kudos for him on that. But then John falls out of his chair, and he can't just get up, so Wally has to help him. But then, after doing so, Wally catches a train where Eve is, and then Mary's like kind of talking with another Axiom passenger. Mary's another passenger on the Axiom. She's voiced by Kathy Maggi. I don't even know how you say that last name. And then also Jeff Garlin is Captain G. McClure, who we'll meet later. But anyways, after they get to the pool, Mary's like, I didn't know we had a pool. So then it's like, yeah, apparently they even have a pool on the Axiom too. And it's like, because Sevastopol and Alien Isolation did not have a pool, or at least we were never shown one. But then Wally goes past like a keyboard robot with Eve, and then they kind of just wave at them before they head up, and that's where the autopilot. Yes, the main villain of this film is a goddamn wheel that's gone rogue, who's basically trying to keep the Axiom in space for eternity and will never keep them. He basically, it's like Macintosh, which is like the text-to-speech program for Apple Macintosh computers. So basically, Wally accidentally falls down a hole, and that's when Captain Mercurial wakes up, and then they like start getting him ready for his morning routine. It's like, apparently I'm not sure what time zone the Axiom is currently on, but the point is, he literally restarts the whole day after having his morning coffee, because he's like, what the fuck, Otto, you didn't wake me up for morning announcements? So then he's just doing the morning announcements until Eve is like flashing a plant inside of her. But then when they open Eve up, or they auto reactivates Eve, and then they get like a video recording of like what would happen if one of the probes ever found a plant on Earth. So then they were trying to figure out, okay, now we gotta figure out, just get this in the ship's hollow detector and return home. So then after they open up Eve, after activating like a whole series of voice commands, they find the plant is gone. And it's like, what? Where'd the plant go? And then Eve is also blaming Wally. How did you intercept me while I was deactivated? But then Captain McCreer then orders Gopher to take Eve to the repair ward, and he kind of also orders him to take Wally to the repair ward too and get him cleaned. He just said, Wally introduced himself, and then the captain says, have Wally cleaned. Because what's so funny, in the Wally video game, he says, take that bot too, it's filthy. It's like, well, I never finished the Wally video game because I couldn't get past the level where you're in space. But anyways, McCreer is like analyzing the dirt he got from Wally and like realizes, holy shit, this is from Earth. And then he's like asking the computer to define like Earth and ocean. It's like, okay, do you not know? Well, you've been living in space your whole life, so you probably don't even know what these things are like on Earth. But then we cut to the repair ward. Well, actually, it kind of slowly pans along the outside of the Axiom before we see the repair ward, and Mo is still cleaning up some dirt stains, and then that's when we see Wally and Eve arrive at the repair ward. It's like, yep, we're kind of fusing. It's like, ooh. There's like tree and robot. It's basically the repair ward is like where they like try to like fix some of the robots aboard the Axiom that are starting to malfunction. Like they have like a makeup robot after Eve gets deactivated. They try to take Wally, but he escapes, but then he gets thrown off by like a makeup robot, and then he gets placed in like a cage that's next to like a vacuuming robot, and wow, the systems on this ship are, like, really clever. There's even, like a massaging robot, but unfortunately, like, Sporadicates has, like, started to throw violent punches before it gets, like, handcuffed in, like, a straitjacket. It's like, wow, this is some pretty cool technology, but then Wally is sitting there watching Eve getting treated on, but then he thinks it's torture, and they even take her her gun arm away. And then, but anyways, after Wally accidentally cuts himself out of his cage, and then he intervenes with Eve's repair system, and then he grabs her gun and shoots it, which results in all the other malfunctioning robots getting freed. It's like, and this is pretty much, yes. For my Outlast fans watching this is the scene that I talk about a lot when I, like, reference how, like, the variants in Outlast escape from the underground lab, so you pretty much know where that scene came from now. So anyways, all of the freed robots, they break into the lab and they take Wally with them. It's like, I'm not sure if they were trying to, like, thank him for saving them or why they take him, but unfortunately that gets the attention of the working Joes who cut them off, of the security robots. But then unfortunately they end up taking a photo of them, and then there's, like, a rogue robots warning going all over the Axiom, and then Eve's like, now look what you did! And then it turns into a wild goose chase with all the malfunctioning robots running all over the place, and then Eve's like, alright, Wally, I gotta get you back to Earth. So then they head to, like, an area with escape pods, up an elevator, and then Eve's trying to activate an escape pod. He's trying to get Wally in there before launching it back to Earth, but unfortunately Gopher shows up, and then surprisingly he chose these, and it's a matter of convenience that he chose the escape pod that Eve was trying to get Wally back to Earth in, because, and also, by the way, he intercepted the plant from Eve, so he puts it in the escape pod, activates self-destruct so the pod will explode, but unfortunately, Wally heads in there, and Gopher launches the escape pod with Wally still inside, so then Eve shoots herself up to, like, a tube that leads her back outside, and then Wally's in the escape pod, and then we just see him, like, kind of fooling around with, like, the controls, trying to figure out how to turn the escape pod around, but then he's, like, trying to figure out how to stop the self-destruct, and he can't even get the door open, but then the escape pod explodes, and Eve is like, no. But don't worry, Wally survived the explosion, because of course he did. And then he's, like, using the fire extinguisher he grabs to, like, help himself move around space since there's no gravity. But then once he catches up to Eve, he pulls the plant out of his chassis, and then he's like, yes, you survived and you managed to save the plant. Now I just gotta get this to the captain, then we can head back to Earth. So then we go through, like, a montage of Wally and Eve flying around space. It's like, aw, that's kind of cool. I don't know. And also, Mary catches on to this, and then she bumps into John, and then, like, hey, look, it's Wally. And then they even, like, touch hands and, like, kind of smile at each other. But then we see Otto activating, putting, like, the Axiom in goodnight mode, while the captain's still asking questions. But of course, the captain can't sleep because there's so many questions to ask the computer. But then, once the fire extinguisher runs out, that's when Eve takes Wally back inside the Axiom. And also, there's, like, a robot working on, like, a broken light who was supposed to be locked out, which actually, I'm not sure if this release of the film has the, oh wow, yeah, it does have the Bernie short with it. It's like a little bonus short. I haven't actually watched that, though. I might sometime after recording this, because, I mean, it is pretty common for Pixar films to have, like, a bonus short on them when they get released on DVD and Blu-ray. Monsters, Inc. had the Mike's New Car short, Brave had the Legend of Mordu short, and then I think Inside Out had Riley's First Date, and then Ratatouille had some shorts, Cars 2 did, even Monsters, don't know if Finding Nemo did, or Incredibles. But, anyways, we see Mary and John splashing around the pool, and yet their chairs are somehow waterproof and they don't even malfunction from being on the water. But then Wally and Eve are nearby, but unfortunately some working Joes are patrolling the area, so Eve disguises Wally with some towels before she flies up to the captain's cab quarters, and then Mercurius is kind of like playing with, like, a toy Earth, and then when Eve shows up, McCreary is like, how did you find the plant? We can finally go back home. What does the Earth look like? He's like, no, don't tell me. I want to see it for myself. So then he replays Eve's memory from when she was on Earth, like, it showed everything, like, from the moment the ship landed and dropped her off, to the moment she got picked up and left, and McCreary's like, where's the blue sky and where's the grass? And then it even shows, like, when she was shooting at Wall-E and all the stores, and even, like, the music videos he had. And then Kevin realizes, I know this song, but then he accidentally knocks a leaf off the plant. He's like, oh god, we gotta keep this thing safe. But then that's when we cut to Wall-E, who decides, you know what, I'm gonna go up there and save Eve. So he goes past the Working Joes, but then he accidentally dumps the towels down the garbage chute. But then he starts going up the chute, and then that's when Mo arrives and starts following his trail to the Wally's trail to the garbage disposal, and then we cut to McCreary, who's watering the plant, and realizes we gotta go home. And Eve decides, you know what, I'm gonna go find Wally. But then, because McCreary called Otto down, the autopilot, and then he tells Otto to activate the hall detector, and then Otto's like, not necessary, Captain. You must give me the plant. You know what, I'll do it myself. But then Otto cuts him off and says, Sir, I insist you give me the plant. Get out of my way. We cannot go home. What are you talking about? Why not? That is classified, Captain. Give me the plant. What do you mean classified? You don't keep a secret from the Captain. That's literally their whole conversation. So then Otto eventually shows McCreary a recording he was sent. And then after, like, from Fred Willard, who said to not return to Earth, and that he was like, he appeared in the videos recorded around the time of the Axion's launch in the 22nd century, and he told them not to return to Earth because it's apparently too toxic for the humans to go back, and then Operation Cleanup has failed, and then Otto asks for the plant, and then McCreary's like, hold on. And he asks when the message was originally sent, before the ship tells him that that message has been sent in the year 2110, and then McCreary says, it's been nearly 700 years since then. The Earth has changed. And then they're in, like, an argument. It's like, we've done nothing on this ship. And they're like, he's convincing that people that on the Axiom will survive. Otto is. And then but then McCreary literally says word for word, I don't want to survive. I want to live. Like, that line doesn't really make much sense. It's like, you don't want to live, but you do want to live? What? So then that's when McCreary sees his captain portrait on the wall side, and then he decides, I am captain of the Axiom, and we are going home today. But then that's when Otto activates an alarm, Gopher shows up, steals the plant, and he's about to give it to Eve before throwing it in the garbage disposal. That's when Wall-E shows up, but then Otto tries to get the plant from Wall-E, and Wall-E ends up making a dumb mistake by putting the plant in his chassis, which results in Otto electrocuting him, and then he throws Eve down the dumpster, and McCreary is locked in his room. Eve's deactivated too, so... But then when Eve reactivates in the dumpster, which is like a garbage disposal, it's like... This might have been a build-up to the dump from the end of Toy Story 3, but this one's not as dark as that, because they were safe. But anyways... Two robots show up, put Eve in a giant cube of garbage that they place on a trolley ready to be blown in space, and conveniently Wall-E is in the cube right next to her, but then Mo comes down right at that moment, and he ends up jamming the door, which the two giant garbage cleaning robots realize that, and they save all three of them, but then he's like, oh god, Wall-E, you're dying, we gotta fix you and figure out which memory card fits in your bank so we can restore your memory. And Mo's kind of like cleaning Wall-E. And then Eve tries to find some chips to put inside Wall-E, but unfortunately none of them are the right size, so... Then Eve kind of throws the plan aside. It's like, no, you're my directive, not returning the Axiom home. But then Wall-E retrieves the plant, and it's like, if we don't put the plant back, we're gonna head back to Earth. So then he's like, you're right, we gotta return that plant. So then they head out of the dumpster with Mo, and unfortunately one of the robots, the Working Joes, finds one of the malfunctioning robots for Wall-E to save him, and then Wall-E starts playing his music to attract all the other malfunctioning robots, and then like they pretty much got their whole Avengers team ready, and then Otto is like pretty much activating, sending all the working Joes out to catch the rogue robots, and they're waking up babies, knocking people off their hover chairs, and McCreer is like trapped in his room, and then he sees the rogue robots. He's like, yes, the plant made it! Let's see who's powerless now. So then he tries to like warn Wally and Eve. It's like, hey, I'm locked in my room. Get the plant to the Lido deck at all costs, and be fast. But unfortunately, right as the message cuts off, they're ambushed by some working Joes, which Eve manages to shoot one. But then, also the malfunctioning massage machine, Wally cuts the handcuffs on that, and that machine literally destroys all the working Joes. It's like, jeez. So then McCreer tries to lure Otto down by pretending he has the plant to like a picture of Wally holding it up. He's like, come get this plant if you want it, you bastard. So then Otto heads down before McCreer ambushes him. He had been blending in with his captain portrait, so then he jumps onto Otto before, like, Holy had a good fight too, even though Otto does poke him in the eye briefly, but they're still kind of wrestling until Go4 is activated, and then McCreer sends Go4 flying out the window, which Go4 is destroyed upon hitting the pool deck. Imagine if he landed in the water and malfunctioned. That would have been kind of funny. But then, after a struggle, he manages to get the hall detector opened, and of course the malfunctioning robots are on their way there too, which then the hall detector protocol is like saying all the passengers to the Lido deck, which is where the pool is, and then the hall detector is opening, and then that's when they realize, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the autopilot is going through a bit of a malfunction, so just remain calm until we get this fixed. So, of course, McCreer is trying to, like, hold the ship stationary so that Wally can place the plant in the hall detector, but unfortunately, Otto spins and sends McCreer flying, and unfortunately, Wally ends up missing the hall detector entirely, and the plant ends up falling onto the pool deck, and also because the ship is turning sideways, it causes all the people to fall out of their hover chairs. So, basically, it's like, oh, God, and because they can't walk, they're all just sliding down. And it's like, they're all trying to save each other. John and Mary are also caught in the chaos, and then she sees some babies. It's like, yes, I'm gonna save the goddamn babies. Which, yes, she does. And then this, like, tram comes towards them, which is, like, sliding, which is they use for moving all the passengers around. But Eve manages to stop it before it can crush all the humans, and then Otto tries to deactivate the hall detector, but unfortunately Wally puts, like, his whole body in there, so then, but Wally ends up being crushed in the process because that hall detector was just way too much to handle. So then McCreer sees this and he quickly gets up and starts slowly walking over to Otto before they begin wrestling each other. But then in the chaos, McCreer gets the upper hand and deactivates Otto. It's like, you are awful. And then he gets the ship completely flat, and then Eve's like, shit, we gotta get the plant and put it in this so I can get Wally out of there. So then Mo finds the plant, and all the humans and the malfunctioning robots start they throw the plant to Eve. She puts it in the hall detector, and then the accident ends up returning to her, but unfortunately Wally is just completely destroyed. So yeah, even though this is kind of dark, how it's not, I don't think it's really that dark. It's like Wally's trying to be heroic, but it's kind of dark that he nearly died. So, but then anyways, the accident returns to Earth with everyone in hyperdrive, and then once it lands, yeah, so like Sebastopol from Alien Isolation, the Axiom does not get destroyed. So anyways, after it lands on Earth, the humans head out, and then Eve flies back to Wally's truck to fix him up, which, like, she uses, like, a winch to get him up, straighten his chassis out, grab all his spare parts that he has, and then even shoots him a little sunroof so he can recharge. But then once Wally's recharged, his memory is, like, completely erased, so then Eve tries showing him, like, all the valuables he's collected, but that doesn't faze him, and he leaves her so they can see him clean, but then Eve follows from a distance, and so does Hal, but then Eve is like, no, please don't be gone. And luckily she manages to respark his memory by, like, kind of kissing him, which he did earlier. It's like an electric spark, but luckily Wally's memory is restored, and they live happily ever after. And yep, the film ends after we see all the humans growing plants, more plants, because the one plant that Wally found was growing to a tree, and then we see Wally and Eve kind of reconciled in Wally's truck. and then the camera zooms out into space. That's basically it for this film. It really is a great job of how the Earth could get covered in trash, and we'd all be forced to move into space, but unfortunately by the time the 22nd century rolls around, I'm going to be dead. So unless before then the scientists come up with a way that that humans can transfer their consciousness into a robot, which is the thing. It was mentioned in that one episode of The Big Bang Theory, where like humans would get to a point in time where humans could transfer their consciousness into a robot and then live forever. It's like, if that becomes a thing before I die, I'll probably do that. Like it's the immortal Liam 420. Would be kind of cool, but sadly not going to happen. But yeah, that's basically it for this film, and hope you guys enjoyed the review, and let me know in the comments. Do you like this film? Do you think it sets up a message as to what could happen? Like, even like once we're on the station, we could all, and hopefully we're not forced to live on a space station, move around in hover chairs. As long as they don't feed us like McDonald's, Burger King, or any fast food place in general all the time. You gotta give us actual stuff from stuff you buy in like a Zayre's or whatever grocery store you have in your area. Like Zayre's is the closest grocery store to me, so here in Ontario, Canada. So yeah, that's basically it for this film. And, please like, comment, share.